What I thought would be a delightful adventure down memory lane has become my biggest nightmare. Yesterday morning, I met up with my 4 childhood friends, Brent, Christian, Michael, and Mark at Mark's old house. We buried our time capsule in the backyard of the house 20 years ago. We all promised each other that we would dig it up together whenever we turned 30. We wanted to make sure nobody else would touch them, so we placed a large rock on top of each of our time capsules. I almost forgot about them, but Mark messaged me on Facebook letting me know that it was time to finally open up the capsules. I got to Mark's house at 1 p.m. and saw a couple of their cars in front of his house. I started to walk to the front door, but the sound of laughter came from his backyard, so I walked to the back and saw the semi-unfamiliar faces of my once best friends. Christian was the first to see me, and he rose up a hand and called out, "Damn man, when did you get so tall? You're a giant now." I gave him a smile before I walked up to them and awkwardly talked to them for the first time in over 15 years in person. After a couple of minutes, I started to get more comfortable, and before I knew it, we were all talking like we never ceased contact. Michael looked over at Mark after an hour, and Mark gave us a grin before turning around and picked up the shovel next to his feet. We all lifted up a rock and tossed them a couple feet away. Mark spent the next 20 minutes digging out each of our capsules. When Mark handed me my capsule, I spent a couple of minutes to stare at the lunchbox I used while I was in middle school. Damn, I didn't even want to use that as a capsule because it was the only flash lunchbox I managed to get my mother to buy me, but I wanted it to be special. The picture on the lunchbox was nearly worn out, but I could still see the concerned look on Flash's face as he ran towards the reverse Flash. When I looked up, I saw that everyone else's capsule was opened and they were looking through the items. For some reason, I didn't want to open it. I just told them I didn't really have anything special when Christian looked up and asked if we had anything embarrassing in them. Brent gave me a laugh before saying, "Damn, good for you. I have a couple poems I wrote to Grace." We talked for about an hour before I told them I had to get back home before my wife started to worry about me. Before anyone else could say anything back, I quickly walked away back to my car and drove back to my house. 2 hours later, I got to my house and walked inside and sat on the couch and stared at the lunchbox. My wife walked into the house carrying a couple bags of groceries around 5 p.m. I helped her carry the bags the rest of the way in and put up the groceries. While I was putting a pack of pudding in the fridge, my wife called out from the living room, "Hey baby, did you already look inside your time capsule?" I quickly closed the fridge door and walked into the living room and saw my wife opening up the lunchbox. I ran up to her and took it from her hands before saying, "No, I didn't do it yet. I was going to open it in a couple of minutes." She gave me a grin and said, "Okay, well, let me know if you have anything interesting in there. I would love to see what was important to you when you were young." I gave her a smile and a nod, and she walked up to our room. Once I heard the door close, I sat down on the couch and picked it up. With shaking hands, I flipped down the lock and slowly opened up the lunchbox. There was a small stack of photos, but everything else was gone. I know for a fact I put in 2 medals I won from my classical guitar competitions. The $5 bill my father gave me before he had a heart attack and passed away while he was at work, and a Charmander Pokemon card in case it became rare. It was all gone, and I picked up my phone to message Mark to ask if he saw anyone touching my capsule. But curiosity got the better of me, and I looked through the photos. I don't know how many times I looked through the photos and read the notes written in red ink on the bottom of each photo. But no matter how many times I looked through the 6 photos, I couldn't stop myself from panicking. The first photo was of me when I was 8 years old. Tears were falling down my face while I stared at my father's casket make the 6-foot journey into the ground. The note at the bottom said, "Soon you will wish you could join your father." The next photo was of my friends and me digging our holes for our capsules. Sweat was pouring down all of our faces, but damn, we really did look happy. On the bottom of that photo, it said, "Savor the memories you have now. Who knows how many more you will have." The third photo was the day of our high school graduation. I was hugging my mother after I received my diploma. My mother looked so proud of me while she held me in her arms for the last time. I couldn't help but cry when I read what was written at the bottom of this photo. Does it make you feel sad that this was the last smile your mother gave you? My mother was lying in a hospital bed, and I was sitting next to her, crying. It was the 4th photo, but I didn't want to look at any more. A sob escaped from my lips as I remembered what my mother's last words were. It was also written on the bottom of the photo. "The world doesn't need a superhuman. It needs people like you." The next photo proved that my mother didn't know what I was really like. It was from 4 years ago. I was with my wife at a local supermarket celebrating my promotion. She was smiling while I was looking to the right with a worried look on my face, worried about what kind of person I became. I got my manager fired for something he didn't do. I just needed to make more, and getting him fired was the best way for me to get the promotion I've been going after for so long. The note on the bottom of the photo drew me out of my pity party and brought me a wave of absolute fear. This man killed himself a week after he lost his job. The blood is on your hands. The comfortable life you have now is the result of an innocent man's life. The last photo was from last year. It was one of the hardest times of my life. Damn, it was 20 times harder for my wife. We were supposed to have twins. She was in the 3rd trimester when we learned that both of them were stillbirths. That was the last time we tried to have any children. The note on the photo was the hardest for me to take. It brought not only fear, but absolute grief. Your children's death is your fault. We like to call ourselves karma. We aren't done. We will be done when you feel every bit of grief your manager felt before he killed himself. Our job will be done when you end your life. How the hell did they get the photos in the capsule? And damn, who is taking the photos?